Hello there, welcome to Creepy Encounters. In today's video, Midnight Ministry, we're not interested in your God. Lock and load. Caravan creep. Leaving work late at night. A little over 3 months ago, a man knocked on our door while it was just myself and our son home alone. I was working from home at the time, so my attention was scattered between my son and my other responsibilities. It was the middle of the day, so a knock on the door didn't appear suspicious, although it was definitely unexpected. Anyone who knows us will call before arriving. Assuming it was one of our neighbors, I opened the door to a man that I did not recognize. Mid-40s, slender, 5'10" inches, graying hair covered by a beanie with worn jeans and a dusty jacket. "Hi, I'm Tom from Thomas Ministries. Wondering if you could use any prayer today. I'm a nice person. Not one to rudely chase people off of our doorstep without reasonable cause." So, I kindly declined, and he went on his way. I watched out the window as he walked down the street, not stopping at a single other house on the block. Seeing as we were the only house with a car in the driveway, I didn't think much of him picking our door to knock on. Fast forward a few months to last night around midnight. My husband is a night owl and is often up until 2 a.m. or so. Me and the toddler are fast asleep in our beds. Out of nowhere, the doorbell rings and there's a knock at the door. Our dog barks and I wake up. Our bedroom is just off of the living room, so I was able to lie there and listen as my husband opened the door. I overhear him telling this midnight stranger that we have a God we're not interested in, to leave in a much more stern and aggressive tone than I am capable of. After the front door shuts, my husband enters the room a few seconds later and describes the interaction to me. The description and interaction matches exactly to the man that I encountered a few months earlier. Except this time it's midnight, and there is no ministry on this planet that would encourage door-to-door ministry in the dead of the night. My husband watched this man do the same thing as before, walk down the street, not knocking on a single other door in sight. Now, I feel it important to acknowledge the lack of judgment on our part. The door should have never been opened. We should have called 911/non-emergency and reported it. This was a mistake, and fortunately for us it wasn't a deadly one. Lessons learned 1,000 times over, and mistakes will not be repeated. Our house is protected and we are ever more prepared. I sincerely hope that we do not encounter this man again. Thoughts of the ear/ONS and Night Stalker documentaries swarm my head, and I think of how easily things could have gone wrong. How easy it would be for us to look past this and not recognize the signs of danger. Given that the first time he knocked it was just myself that answered, I can't help but wonder why he'd pick our house again to knock on in the middle of the night. I'd like to think it's just mental illness, but you never really know until you know. And I hope and pray that we never have a chance to. This happened many years ago, so I will do my best to recall all the details. I used to live in a rented apartment with a roommate that was near some train tracks, and on top of the usual train crazies, we had a halfway house about a block down that had some real winners living there. And when I say close to the tracks, I mean they were literally in the backyard. The train lights shined in my bedroom window and the whole place shook when a train went by. We had our share of encounters with weirdos, but nothing that really stood out as dangerous, just weird. That was until this night. Sometime between 10 to 11 p.m. there was a knock at the door. I answered it as my roommate was already in bed. There was a squirrely-looking middle-aged dude in a hoodie with his hands in the front pouch pockets. I could tell there was something in there other than his hands, but couldn't tell what. He asked me if he could have a beer. To which I declined and started to shut the door. He stuck his foot in the door and said, "Wait, never mind, I have a beer in my pocket here. I just need a place to drink it. Can I come in and drink my beer?" To which I gave him a firm no. He started acting even stranger than he was before, so I turned over my shoulder and yelled to my roommate to lock and load. Because I knew he had a shotgun in his closet. We both did. We were hunters and lived in the Midwest. My roommate, who was about 6 tall and pretty strongly built, came around the corner in nothing but his whitey-tighties and sporting a shotgun. I can still see the look on that man's face. His eyes nearly bulged out of his head, and he about fell over his own feet, clawing for traction to get off our deck and disappear down the tracks. I still think about that guy from time to time and wonder what he had in his hoodie. I'm fairly certain it was some sort of weapon, but I have no idea what his intentions were once he gained access. Luckily, a dude in his underwear made him think again about trying whatever it was he had planned. I have memory issues, so I cannot remember how old I was, but if I had to guess based on things I do remember, I would have been around 10, perhaps a bit younger, but definitely not much older. So this was around a decade ago, but near every detail is burned into my brain. My family aren't exactly wealthy, so the only holidays I've ever had have been in country caravan holidays, as in a static caravan, not a trailer caravan. One particular year we went to Seton Sands, which from memory was okay quality and had plenty of amenities for all ages. In particular, I recall the play park, arcade area, and nighttime entertainment, which was singing and stuff. My parents would let myself and my older brothers roam around alone so they could get some peace and quiet, and because this particular caravan park is pretty well enclosed, and even as the youngest I was sensible enough to not leave the park or go onto any roads. Most of the time we were there I was trailing behind my oldest brother, because I was an annoying younger sibling, so what else was I gonna do? We both went down to the play park and I was making friends with other kids around my age. Decided it was time to leave. I think he went to the arcade or something, but since I was having fun with the other kids I decided to stay. After being alone for a bit, I decided it was time to go back to the caravan. It doesn't seem that important a detail, but immediately outside the play park was a road that led up to the caravans, so there was a narrow path between the road and the park. As I walked out the park, I noticed an older, portly gentleman with a walking stick coming my direction, and not wanting to step onto the road or block the path, I leant against the fence. I remember exactly how I leant against it too, one leg lifted up against the fence with my arms drooped down beside me and my upper back on the wood. As the man with the walking stick approached, he said something to me that I couldn't quite understand. I believe I stayed silent and maybe smiled at him. He was easily double my height. At this point he turned towards me and put both of his hands either side of my face against the fence. He started speaking to me, but I couldn't hear it because I immediately panicked. Alarm bells began screaming at this point. The rest was a real blur, but I ducked out under his arm, bolted across the road, only glancing back when he shouted after me to stop, then ran as fast as I ever had all the way back to the caravan. Once I got back I climbed into my bed and cried, and cried. It wasn't until years later that I told my dad. I don't know why I didn't tell them immediately, but I spent so long mulling over what happened, and blaming myself, which is silly. I was a child. If anyone did that to a child in my presence I'd lay them flat, and I guess posting here is some kind of catharsis. I don't know if the man meant ill will towards me, but he did act incredibly inappropriately, and I just have to hope it was a misunderstanding. So I am 18, work at a grocery store where I'm the closer for my department. It was around December, so holiday hours were in place and I would leave at 10:30 instead of 9. We also get a lot of tweakers and sketchy people late at night because we close so late, and we're the only grocery store in the town for a few miles. An hour before I'm off, my coworker calls me very eagerly on my phone saying there's a guy looking in my car parked behind the store. I ran across the store and into the back to see the guy fairly far away, so I went to my car to see if anything was out of place, and luckily nothing was. I do get a good glimpse of him, and he's around 6 foot and wearing a blue winter jacket. I notice the guy is now in the store and looking around my department specifically. I stay in the back but watch him through the windows on the doors. He looks around for about 15 minutes then leaves the store. I'm finally off, and as I'm walking around the store to the back of my car, I notice this guy is hanging around the door. He proceeds to whistle and call me over, but I just turn around and ask him what he wants. I make sure I'm right in front of the store in case something happens, and I have my knife on my hand in my pocket. This guy proceeds to go off on how he lost his wife and kids and he gambled away all his belongings, but out of nowhere asks if he can walk me to my car. I told him I'm fine, and he persists for another minute before I finally snap and basically tell him to back off before I do something. He yells at me and just hangs around the area. I call my closing manager as I'm driving home to warn him of a potentially dangerous person outside, and from the last that I heard, cops came, but I'm not too sure what happened after. I've never seen that guy come around the store again, however. It still bothers me how he kept wanting to walk me to my own car, and I often wonder what would have happened. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe for more real-life creepy encounters around the world. See you in the next video. Bye.